Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is me, Pixella, and today we have 10 tips and tricks on building in Paralives. So the first thing is the grid mode. So if you were just to press on G, you would not be able to actually press the grid like you would in Sims. So that's why you would want to make sure that you go in here, you click on the wall, and then you can press on G to get that grid to appear. So tip number 2 is actually changing the wall heights. All you need to do is click on a wall within the room and then click on the arrow up, and voila, you can fully customize how tall, high you want that room to be. And then this leads us to our third tip, which is using these room separator lines. So all you need to do is click on that straight line next to the half wall, and it will allow you to create a fictional invisible wall where you can change the colors of the flooring or so on. And then this leads us to our next tip, which is platform. So by simply clicking on the arrow within that section, you can uplift the level of the flooring and then delete the walls to get this loft style. You can also do that with the rest of the section. So by sectioning out with these invisible walls, we got that L shape. And now I'm just changing the flooring so that it's easier to see. But what you can do, instead of using that arrow here in the menu bar, there's these little arrows up and down, which you can also use to change the height. So there you go. And now we can see that L shape created a elevated look, making that square thing more sunk in. Now our next tip is regarding stairs. Stairs are super customizable in Paralives. So all you need to do is click on your stairs, and by default they will snap onto the height of the room itself. But you can actually change the height of your stairs in order to either go on the lower platform or the higher platform. So right now that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm resizing them using that arrow pointing up so that our Paralives can go onto the loft. So I am just adjusting it, and again, without the grid it's a bit more time consuming, but it does allow you to have a bit more flexibility because you're not snapping onto a particular section. You can also easily copy items by clicking on that plus that's in the menu bar. So I just did this, and I am now resizing them to make them little tiny stairs for the bottom portion of this little tiny house once again. Now with these stairs, there's a few other options. So as you can see in that menu bar, we have a straight line, we have rails that we can change. We can also change what's underneath this rail. So as you can see right now, I am customizing these stairs. So I'm showing you guys the different options that we have, and we will go with full rails for safety reasons. And you can also remove the wall that is underneath the stairs themselves. Now you have similar settings when it comes to windows as well. So right now I will show you guys. I'm just clicking on this window, and it has 4 little squares in it, and when you actually expand it, the squares do multiply, so everything does scale nicely and it's not a weird proportion, you know. And then you can easily just copy it by clicking on the plus with the 2 pages and just snap it on to the other side of your wall. Now next tip is sizing for furniture, especially with beds. So you can see this is a single bed, but you can easily create it into a double bed by simply expanding it as so. You can also customize the color by using the color wheel, but one other little neat thing is by clicking on this painting icon, you can actually choose how many sections of color you want your furniture to have. So we went from 4 to 3 to 2, and that just might make things a bit easier when you're trying to recolor your furniture. Now something with resizing here is how you can resize mirrors. Now we know that in The Sims 4 you cannot resize those mirrors, but thankfully with Paralives we do not have this issue, and as you can see everything scales properly and there's no weird bugs that occur. You can also easily add pillows on items or any sort of decorations. You can pretty much place them freely wherever you want. So as you can see, I just click on the pillow and I'm adding these 2 pillows on the bench. And again, using that sizing, I made it smaller. So you can make everything as big or as small as you would like. With the rugs, you can actually overlay rugs. So that's similarly to in The Sims, I believe you can do this. You can do this in Paralives as well. So we are resizing this rug and we are changing the position. And as you can see, because it was the second rug that we placed, that's why it went over the checkered pink one. And now for our kitchen tips. So in the kitchen, you can actually do some pretty neat things. So I am going to place a counter right now. You can actually expand the counter and it's going to duplicate or make it elongate essentially. So all you need to do is click on the arrow and magically you have multiple counters that appear. But that I'm sure you know. But actually one neat thing is by clicking on this pencil icon, you can really customize the cabinets by changing their knob. So that was something neat I discovered accidentally pretty much. So you can really either make them more modern, make them more vintage. It's up to you guys to revamp your Paralives kitchens as you please and go. Next up, we have wall colors. So by default, it will prompt you to color one wall at a time, but if you look, there's this little icon. It's like a room icon essentially. You can actually paint the whole room at once so that you don't need to go wall by wall, which speeds things up a little bit. Now let's say you want to have some thicker walls. So one thing that you could do is actually use beams. Using beams, you have those same options of fully customizable. So you can change their heights, but you can also change their thickness as so. Now, something you guys probably know already is those curved walls, but something to keep in mind is the point where you let go of the wall is where the curve begins. So when you're building that helps you determine how curvy the wall will be. And last but not least, we have our half wall tips and tricks. Using those arrows, you can actually change the height of the wall itself. Now, again, because I'm not using the grid mode, I am freely placing my wall and it is not very straight, but because it was at height 2, it's basically invisible because we have a platform, but I can use the arrows to change how high I want my wall to be as so. And we are adding back the grid. Again, useful tip, use the grid if you want straight lines, right? But that's it, guys. These were all my tips. Paralives is super easy to build. Hope you guys enjoyed.